Nico was fuming. To have our spaceport raided by the Terran military right after accepting a government contract was a major breach of trust to him. If we had evacuated the premises a second slower, we would be dead or captured right now. We had been about to depart for the clandestine Jatari base when a monstrous warship descended and human soldiers bulldozed their way through our facility. Perhaps it was punching above our weight class to take on the galaxy's most potent military, but the desire for revenge burned in his eyes nonetheless. It wasn't about the money anymore, it was about settling the score. Some Federation goons had tagged along with the humans, and one of them walked into an obvious trap. The plump, shaggy-haired Tajiri male was tied up on my couch now, snoozing after a knock to the head. He must have gotten his buttons reset hard, I thought. What we were going to do with him after interrogating him was another question. Dumping his body in the canals wasn't out of the question, or maybe, if he cooperated, we'd release him with a message for his superiors. In all likelihood, the Tajiri was just following orders and had nothing to do with the Terran government's betrayal. Reasoning with an angry human was difficult, though. Bloodshed might be the only thing that could placate Nico in his current state of mind. After spending an entire afternoon waiting on the captive to wake up, my patience was running thin as well. I decided to take a page from the human playbook and splashed the prisoner in the face with a glass of cold water. His tricoloured eyes snapped open and his gaze darted across the room. I could practically see the gears turning in his head as it all came rushing back. Finally, you're awake. Undoubtedly, the annoyance dripping from my voice served as an indicator of my foul mood. I walked over to the couch, stooping down to his prone form. Name and rank, now.
Gosh, patrolman.
The Tajiri thrashed about for a moment, trying to break the tape around his paws. Realizing it was useless, he slumped back against the cushions.
Let me go now, before the Terran military come looking for me. I'll tell them not to kill you.
A mocking laugh escaped my lips. Nice try, but the humans aren't coming for you. Not with that rank. You're a nobody, a pawn.
Right. They wouldn't leave me,
he stammered. That's cute, but even you don't believe that. I can hear it in your voice, I sneered. I have a counter-offer. You tell me everything I want to know, and my human partner might not torture you to death. Gorge shifted nervously.
Human partner? Who are you?
I asked the questions. What was your mission?
I can't tell you that.
I leaned in, ensuring that my hot breath fell on his face. The Tajiri flinched, attempting to dissolve into the cushions. This was no seasoned soldier, that much was apparent. The mere mention of torture, the slightest hint of a threat, turned him into a shriveling coward. I figured the whole of his combat experience had been accrued in the mess hall, fighting for the last loudsbury cake. Really? From my perspective, it doesn't seem like you're in a position to refuse, I hissed.
I will not sully the Federation's name by aiding its enemies. Do what you must.
Gorge whimpered. I'm not your enemy. Listen, I'm trying to help you. I forced a sympathetic look onto my face. This guy would squeal under duress, I was certain, but that would squander precious time. The humans have ways of extracting information that are quite painful. Unless you welcome a slow, excruciating stare, I suggest we do this the easy way. The Tajiri hesitated for a moment, no doubt imagining human torture methods. The Terran's reputation was enough to induce fear in the most hardened individuals. That was the appeal of working with one post-war. Nobody wanted to get on the violent side of a volatile species with unparalleled creativity. With a little more prodding, the pudgy patrolman would give us everything. Gorf drew a shuddering breath.
I don't want anyone else to get hurt because of what I say. What are you going to do, if I tell you?
It's simple.
Miko's voice answered from behind me, and I nearly jumped out of my fur. The human had entered without me sensing his presence. Who knew how long he'd been lurking?
We want to know why the Terran military attacked an agency contractor.
Agency?
The patrolman repeated.
I don't understand.
My partner grinned.
You don't know then? That Rykov chap really involved you Feddies without telling you they were attacking their own people.
What do you mean?
The hostility flickered out of Gorge's eyes, replaced by shock.
Are you saying you're with the Terran government?
Bingo. The agency is slang for human intelligence services. Always up to some secretive bullshit.
What, secretive bullshit are they up to now?
I don't know. You tell me, Gorsh. Why would they hire us and sick their dogs on us before we could complete the job?
Well, Rykov isn't acting on any directive from Earth. He's just tracking a ship called Pisces.
Why? What is so special about that ship?
There was a terrible accident along my patrol route. An entire crew found dead. Only clues a log fragment talking about a ship by that name.
And why would the head of Federation Command care?
Nico's question parroted the words in my mind. It made no sense that an ordinary transport which hadn't left its docking port in cycles would be connected with a ghost ship. It made even less sense that a high-ranking general would take a personal interest in the case. Such minutiae was beneath his office. This was the equivalent of enlisting a brain surgeon to treat a headache.
Because Rykov was among the dead,
Grosh muttered. It was Nico's turn to look confused.
What? That's some crazy nonsense you're spouting. Rykov is very much alive. I saw him at the spaceport.
I know. But the corpse we have is definitely him, by every metric. Facial recognition, DNA, fingerprints. They can't all be wrong.
I'm sorry, are you telling me someone is cloning human generals?
No. From what we can tell, his death hasn't happened yet. We're trying to prevent it.
So it's all the talk of some psychic? A bad omen in the tea leaves?
The human laughed incredulously, shaking his head.
The general's gone mad then. From the words you were using, I thought it was real, tangible. This is ludicrous.
It is real. The Federation conducted a full forensic investigation of the ship, and their findings.
Yes?
The date on the logs was from 5 days in the future. Your people are experimenting with some portal. That's all I know.
Nico stroked his chin, emerald eyes glowing with excitement. Did the human actually believe this wild babble? I was starting to think Gosh had been plugged over the head a bit too hard to conjure up such fantastical delusions. Dead people from the future didn't just materialize out of thin air. Boss, this guy's either yanking your chain, or he's nuts, I growled. Nico pulled me aside, lowering his voice.
He seemed grounded enough. And what's more, this story checks out. They asked for the Pisces by name, according to my people. I guess the agency didn't sell us out after all.
So the job is still on then? With that Richards guy? I asked.
With some minor changes. Depending on what the Jatari are testing, we might keep it for ourselves.
But the 20 million credits? 20 million!
Fucking hell. Forget the credits, Larkin. If we travel back in time, we can rule the galaxy. We will be gods, rich beyond measure.
Yes, but the whole premise seems impossible.
If the Federation found a ship from the future, we already know it's possible. We just need to get our hands on the tech, one way or another.
What makes you think the Jatari have it? Gosh said it was your people testing it.
Richard said there were massive energy readings by the base. It's either a portal, a new drive, or a weapon.
And if it's a weapon, that seems most likely to me.
Then we use it as a bargaining chip. If the energy readings were large enough for the agency to detect, then it's a planet killer. They might be more amenable to sharing that tech with a bomb pointed at Earth.
You'd point an untested weapon at your own planet.
Not my planet. I don't live there, do I? And neither do you, Larkin, so don't go getting all sentimental on me.
I despised the idea of holding the human tradal world hostage. Thief or not, I didn't gallivant about murdering civilians. While Nico wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty, there was no way he had any intention of pulling the trigger either. Otherwise, I would never agree to it. It was merely an intimidation tactic to bring the Terran Union to the table. As dishonorable as those methods were, the potential rewards outweighed any moral qualms. I could envision it in my head. An empire that stretched across the galaxy, brimming with untapped riches. Loyal subjects who worshipped us, revering our names in song and prayer. The ability to weave the threads of history, just like the true gods of the universe. How could anyone resist such temptation? Ah, fine, I'm in, I sighed. The human clapped me on the back.
That's the spirit. I knew I could count on you, Larkin. Let's go spring the Pisces and fulfill our destiny.
How?
Leave that up to me. It seems that I already figured it out once, didn't I?
And what do we do with Gorsh? I asked. He's a loose end.
Him?
Nico smirked.
Take him with us. We might find a way to make him useful yet.